Good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. We have a returning champion. If you've listened into the other show, Uncensored Advice for Men, you might have heard this guy's story. This guy is, he's really one of the most transparent people I've ever met in my life. And I'm pretty wide open in my life. But he has an incredible story about redemption. And on today's show, we're gonna plug that in on how he's redeeming real estate. John, welcome back behind the mic.
Man, so great to be with you. What an incredible opportunity to get to meet you and hear more about the work you're doing, and to hopefully share with some guys. At least they'll have a few things to put on their not to-do list after today's interview.
Yeah. All right. So, if someone wants to hear the full story, the full uncensored and everything about John, we encourage you to, head on over to the Uncensored Advice for Men thing. But, on the business side, we spend all our time talking about personal and life and belief systems and such. But today we're coming to talk about business, about all the things you've accomplished. So let's do this, John. Let's give a little milestone of where you guys are at and some of the things you've accomplished in business. And then what have you overcome in business?
All right. Well, and I do want you to know that we're bigger on the inside than we are on the outside. Okay. But on the outside, we now are in 12 places around America, small towns. We're helping steward about $1.7 billion in redemptive real estate. And we're still as committed after 25 years of loving 10 square blocks in our town and doing over 285 properties and starting over 60 businesses to save our town. Still as committed today as we were 25 years ago. So we have authority because we've done it with no outside capital, starting as idiots that were broke. And then we have empathy because we suffer. We continue to do the work. We're not on a journey where we tell people hollering from the stands what they ought to be doing. We're down on the field with our pads on, still trying to make a difference in our community, developing, redeeming, working on things, and doing sophisticated real estate development with love.
Now, you say, so those are impressive things, right? And you've accomplished much, but you've also overcome much. Now, you said starting broke. You actually started less than broke. share your
so broke is isn't broke and rich kind of something that you have to answer what that is. I thought about me and my wife we've been in business almost 30 years together. And we were in the foyer of our beautiful home. It's just an amazing place. And we're standing there and she's saying, well, these people are doing this and this. I said, baby, they're well off. She said, we're well off. I said, if you say that again, I'm telling you, don't say it again, because she thinks we've won the lottery. And I think, man, we've got so far to go. And there we stand in the same life. Yeah. So isn't it our perspective of whether we're rich or broke? Isn't it our perspective whether we're successful or unsuccessful? And remember, our today is probably somebody else's tomorrow. And this is the John I dreamed of being that I'm not satisfied with now.
All right.
So as we go to this, when we started our journey, we were $1.5 million in debt. We had created a business where we built totals. We were buying totaled Toyota Land Cruisers, Tundras, 4Runners, and Sequoias. We were rebuilding them, getting a rebuilt title and selling them. And we had a salvage yard. And through me being a drug addict and my partner not being wise enough to manage the money, we ended up $1.5 million in debt, $99,000 overdrawn. He decided to quit, filed bankruptcy, and took himself and some money and left. And there I sat, $1.5 million in debt, no assets, and $99,000 overdrawn, wondering if I just don't quit. So I'd send them a little bit of money here and there, $150 a week or $200 I'd make doing rot repair on houses. And it's like squirting a squirt bottle in a forest fire. I mean, it's evaporating before it even gets there. I mean, the payments, $15,000 a month, principal and interest, before you have to even live. But over time, 7 years, repenting one check at a time, we got back to zero and we're like, yes, zero. We won the lottery. We thought, man, that we've never been so free in our life. And that's where we started, with a $3,300 tax return in the real estate investing business, with a crappy little house with a ping pong table floor that was bubbled up like a tumor that we got for owner finance, no money down, $15,000 in payment starting at $200 a month after the third month. That's where we started.
The day you got to broke, you celebrated, right?
Oh man, getting to zero, man. I'm telling you, if you start with zero today, jump up and down. There's something worse than zero. That's $1.5 million less than zero.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. All right. So yeah, I love your analogies. Like listening to you is like listening to like a storyteller who it just it creates your imagination. Throwing $150 at a 15K a month, negative. It's like squirting a gun at a fire. It
Right. And
evaporates before it
even the
gets there.
bankers are like, son, what are you doing? File bankruptcy. You're an idiot. I said, I know I'm an idiot. You don't get in these situations unless you're an idiot. But I said, they ain't quit. I
Yeah.
said, if it takes me 30 years, I just decided I ain't going to quit.
Yeah.
And if there's any piece of advice I can give entrepreneurs, if they really want to do it, if they want to do deals, is don't quit. More often than not, we quit. It isn't because we fail. You just can't quit. You have to be a heart to do this work. Now, some deals you got to know when you got a dead horse and you're putting smelling salts and a new saddle on the dead horse and it ain't working.
Yeah.
But don't quit trying to build and do good work, meaningful work. Because as long as you're doing that, your heart's going to be like me. I mean, I told you before, I feel like a mosquito in a nudist colony. There is opportunity everywhere.
Are you allowed to talk about the book that you're writing?
Sure. Yeah, we've really been wrestling this for a long time, and we've taken 25 years of experience. I'm trying to put decades into something somebody can consume in a few days. And what we're going to do is talk about what if we redeemed this thing called real estate development? What would it look like to build a book on sophisticated real estate development with love? Like, can you make your economics teacher and your Sunday school teacher happy with the same deal? Is it possible to do good and do well? Can we redeem this idea that the real estate developers used to be the heroes of our community? They loved their buildings so much they put the names on the top of them. And so much of the construction they didn't just do for the spreadsheet's sake, they did it for love's sake. And so what could we do to bring that back where can we save these historic downtowns that are all over the U.S.? They're the fabric of the U.S. Can we save them or is it impossible now?
Is that what the book kind of uncovers of doing that? Because you're doing that. You started with your hometown, and you've done it 12 other places across the U.S.
Right. That's right. We're in small towns as small as 800 and as large as about 180,000. And the largest single portfolio we're working on that's really active is Winter Haven, Florida. It's about $250 million. And they bought up a good portion of 80 blocks of downtown.
Yeah.
We've got 500 multifamily development going in on scattered sites. It's just incredible. And what we're beginning to see, a new asset class of real estate being formed of historic downtowns that are thoughtfully curated and cared for like a complex mixed-use development.
Yeah. Do you think that, so you said a well thought of plan, right, for a downtown community? What's been the standard up to now, or what's been some of the issues of why hasn't it worked? Why are we seeing these, small little towns crumbling and not thriving?
Well, most of the time it's a wrong mindset. First, everybody's got 20 plans for their town, but they're done by people who can't swim trying to pick lifeguards. They ain't done the work. They work for fees. They don't work for results. Now, we've been doing push-ups for 25 years in a little town in Alabama to make it work. And with no outside capital, we're always 30 days from trouble because you got to make them payments. And so we built models that work. And they work at any scale, really. You can start with nothing and do this. I mean, we've done this, and we've helped other people do this. So that's the first thing is, I mean, with a bad plan, perfect execution of a bad plan doesn't work. No plan is a plan. It's just a bad one. But then other things is that it makes sense, but it's not common sense how to do this. Because what happens is people start loving their town and see a little opportunity. They buy a building here or there and they start a little something. But it takes a different level of intention to look at the whole town, buildings you do own and don't own, and get them aligned around a vision for making this all come together. I mean, imagine a new development that's mixed use that you only own parts of the property and the other guys do what they want. It's like you feel like you gotta, hit the ball, drag Charlie, hit the ball, drag Charlie. Pretty soon you want to hit Charlie. You got all these other people in the city. And what I tell people, I said, imagine like this, when you get bad players in your downtown, that's like somebody pooping in the pool you're swimming in. It gets on everybody. And so it's a little difficult to do this. Now, the great thing is when they're so broken that nobody cares and nobody wants it, now you got an opportunity. And that's where we were. The first buildings in downtown Opelika I bought for $13,000. I didn't have the money, so they owner financed it, no money down. That building 3 years ago sold for $1.3 million, and they did about $600,000 worth of improvements. So yes, the greenest buildings and the biggest opportunities are things that currently exist. Mm-hmm. And we call this real estate irreplaceable real estate. You say, well, why would you call it irreplaceable? And I said, because it's built by people who don't live anymore, with materials we don't have anymore, with methods we don't do anymore, and with entitlements and grandfathering we can't get anymore. Irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And when you put that under sophisticated development frameworks and care, it can be, our portfolios are amazing, honestly. Over time, if you ever want to see something about what over time does, just Google the visual of Warren Buffett's net worth. And at 34, he's like worth 30 something $1 million, and now he's worth 80 billion. You're talking about it turns up heavy. And that's how this real estate gens over time, right? And most of us, our models are short because IRR, it's hard to make good decisions with short-term capital, right? People who are just, it's hard to make good decisions with short-term capital. IRR makes us make short-term decisions, and it tries to force us to be extractive developers instead of additive developers. We believe the best developers of all add value and don't extract it. They should want to see us come and be cheering for us, but most of them are having community events to keep us out. And I'm not saying it's always I've had pushback like that. It's hard because people are down on what they're not up on. And when you go in, like in my town, finally, I got so tired of people not getting it. I just said, you can be led or you can be drugged, and led's better, but I'll drag you. And I just drug them. I didn't need their money. I didn't need their vision. I didn't need them to help me do it. So I just said, I can't put up with this anymore. I was young. In hindsight, I should have taken the time to tell the story better and to show a family photo where they could see themselves in the family photo. I could have got a lot more support, but I just didn't have the context to do that. And I was high energy, low IQ, powerful combination.
So you dragged them.
I dragged them.
Yeah, 25 years of it. So you mentioned, and I've heard you say this before. First of all, we need to have like a book called Marshisms or something like that. All of the crazy good stuff that you say. Stuff.
My wife says I speak bumper sticker. I said, baby, I do speak bumper sticker. I said, but it's because they stick. Right?
Right.
And what we want to do, if we want to communicate, we need to make them memorable and portable. And my goal is to add value. I hope people leave and say, my life's a little better because of that time I spent with you. I can see things a little different. Like you let me borrow your glasses and the prescription helped me see something I didn't see before. So to do that, again, it has intention. I try to work hard to codify what we've learned where I can give it to people in such a way that they can remember it.
Yeah.
And so that's the very same intention I'm talking about putting into your real estate deals.
Yeah, I like it. Before we get tactical, because I want to get a little tactical. I want us to put our pads on and go, let's go into a town that nobody wants. That boards are up on windows and everybody's, saying, hey, you shouldn't drive in there, right? You shouldn't go there, right? But before we go tactical in that, one of the things we mentioned, and you did this all without outside capital, right? And you said before we hit record, you could lack capital or clarity, right? Could you share that with the audience, because I think that was an important thing, and then I want to expand on that, and then I want to get tactical with you.
Well, when I started, I didn't have capital, and I see a lot of people who want to do things and don't have capital, and they believe if they had the capital, it would work. I think what they most often need is clarity because they have a fuzzy vision. And if the promise is fuzzy, no price is cheap enough. But the promise is clear, the price is easy. And so, I mean, if I came to you with, and I'll give you a dumb example that doesn't make sense, but let's say I had a piece of land and I've got a lease on this land, say it's $1 million a year lease for a McDonald's. Do you think capital's going to follow that?
Yeah.
Because it's clear, right? And we make these fuzzy things and ask people to invest their capital that they can't see what it is. Where am I in this? What can I expect? And so clarity brings capital. In every city that says, well, there's not any money there, we always find the money. The money's never been the thing that held us up so far, 25 years. It's always been clarity. And clarity is difficult, right? To say, I mean, if I give you 10 pages to tell me a little something, that's one thing, but tell me in a half a page, tell me in a paragraph. And you better have it clear, right?
Right.
And if there's anything I could encourage guys that are trying to do deals is get your deal clear and borrow a bunch of wise counsel around you and say, is this clear? Does this make sense? And get it so crystal clear that an educated 13-year-old can understand it. If you do that, and it's a good deal, capital will chase you down and overtake you.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So let's put on our pads and go into a town where there's boarded up windows, graffiti all over the walls, real estate that needs to be redeemed, as you would say, irreplaceable real estate. Like, some people would look at that real estate and say, that's dangerous. I don't want to go there. Too risky. And you're saying irreplaceable, let's redeem it. Why do you view it that way versus other people? Let's get tactical.
Well, first, I guess one of the first things we have to convince people is it's not impossible. If it's impossible that place will flourish and be valuable, you can't do anything. It's got to be possible. Once it's possible, it becomes probable. And we just have the gift to take people from impossible to possible because we know what those steps are. They're steps, it's simple steps. And so a lot of people say, well, my town's too far away from anything else. All the factories left, and everybody tells us, y'all know some stuff, but boy, you don't know the problems in my town. And so then we start listing off the common ones, and they're like, oh, those are the same. It's like, yeah, it's similar. The big company left, the wrong family owns them. The cost to renovate them isn't worth what we could rent them for. Who would loan us any money on these? There's no good businesses down the town's moved outside of town in the suburbs. We're too far from a major city. Heard it. Mm-hmm. And see, they get to the place, there's no more possibility, right? Yeah. And what we come in and do is say, well, what if this? What if we had one of the best barbecue places in America? It's kind of a shack, but it's the best. It won a James Beard Award in your little town of 300. Yeah, people are coming.
People are coming.
I mean, town of 3,500, we got restaurants do $1.5 million, $1.7 million in a town of 3,000. And if you got a McDonald's in your town, you got over $1 million a year restaurant, but you just don't have that mom and pops, do you see, or 2 million. So what we have to do is show them there's already commerce and business normally taking place. What they need first is clarity of vision. Because if you don't know who you are, you'll try to be somebody else. And for real estate, that's dangerous. Because you'd be a 5 foot tall guy trying to dunk.
Ain't happening.
Right. I mean, you can have all the heart you want, but you ain't got the vertical stuff going. If you're a 5 foot tall deal, you better pick a different deal than dunking. And so many towns miss that. But we don't have a model to your. If we go into town, 2 things I have to have always, as far as models. I have to have great food and beverage, and I have to have overnight stay. I don't have a model that works without that. because I can't get you to come to a town that don't have any good food. If the best food they got there, Subway, and you can't stay overnight, you ain't coming much.
So, do they need to? We just got a big Hilton downtown Ocala, right? Like, it was a big deal for us. It's pretty cool. We have, there's other motels and hotels and such, but we got one downtown, and our little downtown's starting to really blossom. It's really doing
Right.
good. Does it have to be one of these big chains? Could it be these mom and pops? Can it be
It could
the
be something
uns?
simple. The model I've seen to give you an idea of the simplicity. Look in uh was looking trying to think of one of my friends. It's a small hotel called the Gun Runner. It's a 9-room hotel or something.
Yeah.
Very, very small. And it's just a little hotel in a little town that's being revitalized. Somebody can say, I mean, think about this. If you and your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever, or your whoever can go to a place and have a great dinner and stay overnight, not have to worry about driving, have some great drinks or great food or a great experience and do a little bit. I mean, that's like a minimum viable plan, right? An overnight stay. I go there, we have dinner on Friday night, we hang out and do some stuff on Saturday morning, drive home Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a start.
Yeah. Yeah. Super
Now, what
cool.
we know is we need that food and beverage to be iconic. It has to be authentic and iconic. Now, it doesn't have to be fine dining, but it needs to be iconic and authentic. And I'll tell you, so imagine that you had one of the best, all beef hot dog places in the region. That's iconic. But nobody drives for ordinary. I mean, you didn't ever go to a town and say, man, I had this amazing experience in this town. And what was it called? Well, it's called Ruby Tuesdays. Nobody's going to say that because their goal is to disappoint us at a rate we'll stand. People want, but how many times have you heard the story? Is this a hole in the wall place? But man, right?
I heard that last night on a call at 9:30. We were doing a group call. Asked for the best clam chowder in Boston, and the guy said this little hole in the wall. That's exactly what he said.
So do you see what I'm saying? People
Yeah.
are longing to experience iconic uniqueness. They want authenticity. And if you'll be who you are and be the best at that, people will drive for it. We can get people to drive up to one gas tank away for amazing. They'll drive an hour for upper average because there's just not even a lot of that. So you have to figure that piece out, which to our suffering, and please, listeners, don't think I want to do this. We still have to launch iconic restaurants in towns to save them. We do. And I hate it, but we have to do it. I don't know what else to do because I really don't have another plan. I mean, we curate people in, but a lot of times we'll take, and the investor we're working with, or patron, we call it, will have a space. And he'll want, like we're working in Momence, Illinois right now, which is a little town hour south of Chicago, town of 3,500. We've got a patron there, somebody that loves that town. They have a factory with 3,000 people working for them in a town of 3,500.
Wow.
$1 billion company. And they drive in and drive out because the town's dead. Well, they want to open an iconic, amazing restaurant. So what we're trying to do is to take a building he has, a historic bank on the corner, and he sent us 3 different couples to interview in our town, which we call, it's a 2-day best fit. And we take them through a series to prove, should you bet on them? Well, we've got a couple, we believe now, that open a unique, he's from Italy, an Italian restaurant. And we've curated the deal now, and we're putting it together. And we'll launch it. We'll help them build the theme, build all the back end systems, process, the franchise system for the disenfranchised, put it all together and launch it and run it with training wheels with them 90 days. And every time we've done that, there's been some incredible results. So you ask, well, how does that matter? Well, first, it's catalytic. $1.5 million restaurant like that town of 3,500 I was telling you about in Kentucky, Stanford, Kentucky.
Yeah.
We helped our patron there, a restaurant that's open 6 days a week for breakfast and lunch, 2 of those for dinner, not open on Sunday, doing $1.2 million a year.
Wow.
Seeing 8,000 people a month, no alcohol. Dry County. And again, this is an example of the power. I said, nothing can draw as much people to a 2,000 square foot space except a meth lab, and they're against the law. So we build traffic by building these iconic food and beverage expressions, and people love them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One of the things you mentioned when you guys do this event where you take a look at people, right? You'll interview a bunch of different people and you say, "All right, investor, patron, that's the group. What makes them stand out?" And no offense to other people, but what are some things where you're like, definitely not them, but definitely them when it comes to investing in people?
Well, let's back up 1 sec, as we have to take the mindset of the person we're working with, the patron, and they've got specific things they want. Like some patrons say, hey, I want somebody who has this like faith. Somebody says, hey, I want somebody who is authentic to this community. I only want them to be from our region and not from out of town. Or some say, there's different framings, and we call them non-negotiables that everybody gives us. Mm-hmm. And once we frame that, then the people portion, we run them through a series of asking them questions about their competencies and get them to rate their competencies. Because if not, you can't manage what you don't measure. Now, I learned this from a little story about fishes and loaves. And it was a story where there's a little boy with a sack lunch. They took that sack lunch, they evaluated it, counted the number, blessed it, broke it, and multiplied it. And so I said, well, I guess measure, manage, multiply is an old story. And so I took that and said, okay, in our business, so we'll get them to, how are you at back of the house? How are you at front of the house? How are you at accounting? How are you at marketing? How are you at overall hospitality and creating experience? When they give us their number, and then we can work through the series of questions we have, now we know how deceived they are. Because they give themselves a 9 and we give them a 3, there's a pretty large gap in that. And the key to being deceived is you don't know it. Right? If I asked you, are you deceived? And you told me, no. I was like, well, would you know? And so people, first thing, if they're clear about whether they're deceived about their gifts or not. Number 2 is if they don't have the gifts, can we partner for or hire the gifts? Mm-hmm. Like 90% of the time we get gifted with food, gifted with a hospitality, no business sense. Yeah. And we've got to have somebody watch that, because 60% of the business is business, not food. And so we have to work through that. And then the last thing is their commitment to owning and stewarding it, because more than likely our real estate investor either wants to continue to own the real estate and reap the rewards out of their collaboration in the food, or they don't want to own it at all. And we've got to figure out if that person meets those desires. So when we look at a deal, we look at the restaurant P&L first. And we don't ask ourselves how much can they pay. How much should they pay? We ask ourselves, how much can they pay? Mm-hmm. It's a different question, okay? So what we want to do is get a business to break even as quick as possible, because that's surviving. And then we want to share proportionately for our investment and risk in their thriving. So in the restaurant business as a whole, the first $1 million, there's about 10% margin in a normal restaurant. Make $100,000 if you do real good at $1 million. There's about 25 in the second $1 million average, and about 35 or 40 in the third. Now, where do you think we want them?
Third mill.
Right. And so we'll take our rent, and maybe we make our base rents cheap, and we'll get 5% of gross to the 1 point, and then 7, and then 9, and maybe 12. Because we want them to flourish and pay us from the overflow, not pay us out of their existence. Yeah. And so we align with them in a unique way. And we remember that a dollar of operating income and a dollar of real estate rents is a different dollar.
Explain that.
Well, as operating income, just look, trying to buy an operating business, and you may pay 3 to 5 times revenue. Mm-hmm. Look at a cap rate on a piece of real estate that's got great real estate, and you may pay many, many, many times more. And so we prefer, as investors, what we want is to raise that net operating income of that real estate and then have it in such a way that we get a great cap rate on it. That's where great money comes from. That's exponential dollars.
Exponential dollars.
And especially when you're doing it in a community that everything you raise raises the tide of everything else. Every property we have that's successful is a self-fulfilling prophecy of the value of all the other property we have, because they're all connected.
Yeah. So, got 12 of them, including your own uh,
Yeah.
hometown. What's the big vision for you, right? You say, you said something about vision earlier, about oh, it was an investment with vision. I might have to circle back around in my notes in a second, but
Yeah.
what's your big vision?
I'm really, I'm not totally done developing that right now. I mean, the question is now I know I can go a long, long way. I mean, I can make as much money as I want to make when in a lot of ways because I have the principles. Okay. Now I may run into problems and the defecation hit the ventilation and I have to circle back, but I know how to make money now. The question is, how much of my life am I willing to sell for it? And what we're asking is my wife. I said, baby, man, look how much more we can get, more we can do. She said, just tell me what the more is for. If you'll tell me what the more is for, then we'll talk about the more.
Mm-hmm.
But everything I say yes to now, I'm saying no to something. I'm a new granddad. I got 2 grandchildren, 4 and 1. I want to spend time with them. I still think my wife's hot and want to be with her, and our kids are out of the house. So now I get both of their time they had plus mine. So I'm in the just lavishing it on zone. So I don't know how much I want to write checks with my life for this. That's one question. So is there a financial finish line? And I believe that's one of the hardest things ever. My first mentor grew up in a mill village with a high school education and helped build the largest real estate company in the world. He helped build Century 21. And when I met him, I thought, and every time you meet a rich guy, you think, oh, man, with their money, they can help me. Every time I met a rich guy, I thought they'd give me some of that money. It'd help like crazy. And they're like, he told me, he said, John, let me tell you something. Treat you like my son. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, I'm not giving you any money. He said, but I tell you what I'll do. I'll teach you everything I know.
Yeah.
And for 20 something years, he's been faithful to do that. But what first thing he taught me, he had me answer 3 questions, which I think is important for everyone. Number 1, how much is enough? Number 2, what are you going to do when you get enough? And number 3, now that you got this great living plan, what's your giving plan? And so for me, how much is enough? Took a long time because I thought, dude, I hadn't got $500 more. I mean, I need more.
Yeah.
So that number, which I call, there's basic income, comfortable, and wow. And I very seldom meet people who have clarity of wow. I know my wow number, okay? We know what it takes us to live the life we want to live in the most extravagant way we want to live and give. And that's a lot giving. 40 or 50% of my wow lifestyle is in mine is generosity. Because I believe if you ain't giving while you're living, you ain't knowing where it's going. And one thing about it, most people are financially constipated. They take it in, don't put it out, and they're sick. And greed can only have us if we don't give. Giving is the best antidote, no matter what your belief system, to greed. True generosity breaks greed over your life. Yeah. So you got to have how much is enough. And what I would encourage you to do there is try to think net worth, but also think cash flow.
Yeah.
2 things. And ask yourself that question, what made it so difficult? I never could get through it just looking at the numbers. What it really forced me to do is, how do I want to live? So it took me 5 months and I couldn't answer the question. My mentor finally said, okay, let me tell you what you do. Sit down, chair, I'm going to walk you through this exercise. I said, close your eyes. I did. Get calm. He said, now, you wake up, it's the best day of your life. You're looking at the ceiling. What's it? What color is it painted? What kind of material? You look over, what kind of sheets? Who are you next to? As you roll over and step out of the bed, what does your feet look like? What kind of carpet or flooring are they? And he just took me through the best day of my life. And once you do that, you begin to get an idea of how you want to live, and then you reverse engineer it into what you need to have. Once you get that, then you have to understand you have to have a system past that, because once I got to what that number was, that didn't take too long to get to, honestly. It really didn't. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what are you going to do when you get enough money? Like one of my mentors got lots and lots of money. He's an oil guy. And I asked him, I said, what is it? Because I don't know what this feels like. What does it feel like to be totally debt free and money just pouring in faster than you can spend it? Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars a month or whatever. He said, well, it's kind of like being in Mexico and you got a pocket full of pesos and you're heading home tomorrow. You got to spend them all. And you just pull them out and say, how much to get one of those? For how many of these? He said, it loses its meaning in that same way. And he said, you begin to ask yourself different questions. And so for me, once we got to where we weren't just trying to strive to survive, my goal is to leave a legacy on the hearts of men and not just in sticks and bricks.
Yeah.
And I can do that the rest of my life.
I feel that in my entrepreneurial journey, man, I've had my butt whooped. I've been, bankrupt, been on food stamps. I've been in venture capital or private equity one day, and then, back on a moving truck or selling roofs door to door, right? So I've had my tail whooped.
Excitement.
Yeah, I've had, I've had a lot of jobs, buddy.
Varying in the story.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's some interesting things within that. But when you're striving to survive, it is very hard to have vision and clarity, right? So for the deal makers out there, and for the people who've had a few kicks in the teeth, and who have experienced some big wins or maybe some massive losses, what are some of your thoughts on how did you keep pushing through, not quit, look for hope, see clarity when you were trying to just survive?
Well, first, I would say to kind of the people that most lack clarity I ever see is people that have a tremendous amount, because they've already done everything they knew, and now they're sitting there and going, "Is this all there is to it?" There's a very old text, Ecclesiastes, that you can refer to that'll give you a great story of the richest man in history. But it's this thing, vision has to be, I say that vision is unique, and I call it my 5 V's of vision. And I think it works whether you're broke or whether you're loaded. I think either one, it works. And the reason I believe that is because I've tried it in both, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe my first V of vision is you need a vessel. Vision has to be carried by a person. So you got to realize whatever the vision you have, it's going to press you. It's going to be the fingers and thumbs that squeezes the life out of you and gets the good out of you. That's how you get, if you want wine, you got to squeeze the grape. Mm-hmm. And whatever you squeeze, whatever's in there comes out. So recommend you not be full of caca or something, because you're going to get squeezed. So know that a vision's going to squeeze you. Number 2, it needs to be visual. Okay. The more you document in pictures and words your vision, the clearer it'll get. You document it and then share it. Document it and then share it. Number 3, I think it has to be very big. The difference in persuasion and presentation, a presentation makes you say, "Oh, that was such a good presentation." Persuasion says, "Let's march." And that's what we want. We want something that people say we must when you share it. Your heart and theirs. It's inspiring. Number 4, it has to be verbalized, clear and concise. Like if you ask me questions about certain things I thought very deeply about, like, for example, where's my unique gifts? I will say those very clearly and concisely, because I've spent a lot of time sanding. I mean, you start with 36 grit paper, then you're going like 80 grit, then you're 120, 240, get down to about 2,000 grit. It looks like you're just polishing it, right? And those of us who are married, God sent into our life wives and husbands as sandpaper, and you got the grit you needed at the season you're in. So and then the last one, it needs to be viable. And for me, that means it has my faith involved with it. But I also, in the multitude of wise counselors, there's wisdom. Go get them and ask them, is this vision I'm doing viable? And think about this, the day you have hope, that moment, I mean, think about, let's say you're broke as can be today. And you go and you do the lottery thing, and you put your numbers in, and your numbers, you think you heard a radio thing and they were saying all the numbers. I think that's my number. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the whole it all cleared out for a minute, and there's oh, clear skies ahead. We're
Yeah.
moving, and all that changed is hope. And one thing you and I talked about before, I say there's two kinds of people we need in our life: lifters and leaners. And to grow hope, what I did is got around people who would lift me and not lean on me. Now, there's people I lean on, but there's people that lean on me. And so we all need a lifter to leaner ratio. No matter if you're hurting or if you're in the biggest place of abundance in your life, get around people that lift your vision.
Yeah. No, it's massive. Having someone who believes in you is massively important because there was many times where I did not believe in myself.
That guy, Mr. Martin, I told you about when I was riding in the car with him, I didn't have $500. He said, John, you're going to end up doing incredible. You're going to be a world changer. I thought, me? I thought, now, why would someone like him believe in somebody like me? That's the power of it, right? Those words of encouragement from someone we respect.
Yep. Yeah. And that as business people, as visionaries, as investors, right? We can look at numbers all day, but looking at people and believing in other people and investing in other people and lifting up other people, that's the true mission here, right? Like
It's gold.
That's gold.
Yeah,
That's
it
gold.
really is. And I believe inside each person is gold. You just got to move some dirt to get there. And some of them got more dirt. But if you want to know how to get the best out of people, it's the quality of your questions. The quality of your questions determine the quality of your answers. Yeah. And one thing I recommend everybody I kind of mentor and advise into their life, I said, I have 10 questions. And I ask those same 10 questions to everybody that I'm wanting to learn from. And the reason I encourage people to get 10 questions, and the reason, or 3 questions, and the reason is this: I think they need to have those because what it'll allow you to do is everybody you talk to, you use a different person, but the same questions. So imagine if one of your questions, like one of my favorite questions is, tell me 3 things to always do in business and 3 things to never do. Well, when you give them that question and you ask 100 people that same question, you're borrowing 100 perspectives at the same thing. I remember one man looked me in the eyes. He said, son, beautiful legal documents. That's what his thing was, create beautiful legal documents. And didn't that say a lot? Well, another one I love to ask people is, how has failure shaped your life?
That's a good one.
And I'll ask them, what have you read that I should read? Who do you know that I should know? That one's taken me all over the world. Who's one person you know that I should know, and would you introduce me? That's taken me to Venezuela and London and all over, meeting amazing people, and it's given me infinite amount of opportunity. One question. So get your questions and ask them consistently. And then the third thing is document the answers. I've got every answer to those questions with every person I've ever asked.
Yeah, that's so good, dude. Let me ask you this question. What is one thing that I should never, ever, ever do in business that you had to learn the hard way? I just stole the question from you, dude. So I'm not.
No, but there's so many. I mean, I'm just sitting here. It's like my life is flashing before me. One thing, can't make a good deal with a bad guy. I don't care what you think it is.
I agree.
You can always make a bad deal with a good guy and it'll work out good somehow. That one or another one, but you can never make a good deal with a bad guy. Character matters. And every great season of my life started with meeting somebody, and so did every horrible one.
Yeah. So good. John, we're almost out of time. You and I, dude, I love talking with you, and I appreciate you. Let's do this. For fellow deal makers in the audience, and they're going, hey, actually, I would like to have a chat with you, maybe have you take a look at my hometown and get some thoughts, or maybe it's someone who's like, hey, man, I've got some ideas about this redemptive real estate and how it could tie mission and purpose and passion into a community that also creates, profits, right? Like I would love to talk with you. What's a good place for people to connect with you?
Well, right now, I think we've stayed under the radar. You can connect with me through our website, marshcollective.com, or my podcast, Redemptification. So think gentrification, redeemed. And we said returning people and places to their intended beauty and glory. Those are two best places, and you can reach out through the website if you want to connect with us and talk more to us and our team about what we do. We have a passion for what we're doing. We love what we do. We think we've won the lottery. We get up every day just crazy about what we're getting to do. And our prayers, front row seats to miracles. I said, I just want 50-yard line seats to miracles. So that'd be mine, but I want good seats. Yeah. And that's what it's like to redeem real estate and to build a real estate portfolio that is profitable and meaningful. And it's so powerful. I mean, I think, God, thank the Lord, I've been born in America. And it's so easy. I mean, if I've been born in India or Bangladesh, it may be hard, but it's easy here.
Yeah. All right. Next question. You ready, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
I come pick you up in my big pickup truck, and I take you to an iconic restaurant. Your choice. Anywhere in the United States, I'll drive. Even though gas is almost, diesel's $6 a gallon. I'm driving. Where are we gonna go for an iconic deal?
We keep going back, and I'm still not disappointed. We've been going for 15 years, and it's Blackberry Farms in Maryville, Tennessee, and they've won James Beard for their food and their alcohol program. These guys have some of the best hospitality in America, if not the world. They just love what they do, and love shows up on the plate. And so when we're going to go, we call it Culinary Disney World. When we're going to go have a fabulous meal, we like going there.
Cool. So the next time we go there, treats on me.
And, all right, big dog. It's awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so let's do this, fellow deal makers. As always, reach out to our guests. Say thanks for being on the show. If what they say, really resonates in your heart and your mind and potentially your wallet, reach out to our guests and say, hey, man, how do I get involved? Maybe you're working on a deal and you want to chat with them about it or ask some advice. Reach out to our guests. All their contact information will be in the show notes below. If you yourself would like to come on the show and talk about a deal, or maybe you're looking for a deal, head on over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, maybe get you on the show next. Till then, we'll talk to you all on the next episode. See you guys.